Jaquan Brisker is about to have a running mate who changes everything. The Chicago Bears secondary has been missing that enforcer next to him. That physical safety who can erase tight ends, punish crossing routes, and make offensive coordinators rethink their entire third down package. And according to multiple reports from beat writers who cover this team every single day, the Bears are zeroing in on a defensive back in this draft who fits that description perfectly. But here's what makes this even more interesting. While everyone is talking about that safety position, there's a cornerback situation developing that nobody saw coming, and it involves a player who was supposed to be untouchable just 8 months ago. And the third piece of this puzzle, the one that ties it all together, is about Matt Eberflus and his defensive scheme that just got a massive upgrade without most fans even noticing it yet. All three of those stories are connected, and they're all inside this video. If you're part of Bear Nation and you want the real breakdown of what's happening with this defense, hit that like button right now and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Bear down, let's get into it. When you look at what the Bears defense needs most heading into next season, the safety position jumps off the page immediately. Jaquan Brisker had himself a solid year, no question, but the problem is what happened around him. Elijah Hicks started 13 games last season and posted a 58.2 grade from Pro Football Focus. That's not terrible, but it's not championship level either. He allowed 18 completions on 22 targets when he was the primary coverage defender, and that completion percentage is way too high if you're trying to compete in the NFC North with quarterbacks like Jordan Love and Jared Goff throwing the ball twice a game against you. The Bears know this. Ryan Poles knows this. And the smoke coming out of Hallis Hall right now is pointing toward them, addressing it in a major way. There's a name that keeps showing up in mock drafts tied to Chicago, and it's a safety out of the SEC who played his college ball in one of the most physical conferences in America. The projection is that he can step in day one and immediately give the Bears what they've been missing. That true enforcer mentality in the back end who doesn't just tackle, but delivers a message every time he makes contact. I'm talking about a player who logged over 70 tackles last season, forced multiple fumbles, and has the kind of film that makes offensive coordinators lose sleep. The Bears have 3 picks in the middle rounds of this draft, and if this player is still available when Chicago steps to the podium, it would be hard to imagine them passing on him. Because here's the thing, Eberflus runs a cover 2 shell as the base of his entire defense. That means your safeties are not just playing center field, they're reading routes, they're triggering downhill on run plays, and they're erasing tight ends on seam routes. You need 2 safeties who can do all of that at a high level. And right now, the Bears only have 1. Now, does this mean Elijah Hicks is gone? Not necessarily, but it does mean competition is coming. And in the NFL, competition either makes you better or it replaces you. There's no middle ground. If the Bears draft a safety high and that player shows up in training camp ready to contribute, Hicks is going to have to prove he belongs in that starting lineup all over again. That's just the reality of this business. And honestly, that kind of pressure is exactly what elevates rosters from mediocre to dangerous. But while everyone is focused on the safety position, there's a cornerback story developing that deserves way more attention than it's getting right now. And it involves a player who was supposed to be a cornerstone of this defense just a few months ago, Tyrique Stevenson. Second-round pick in 2023, came into the league with swagger, with confidence, with all the tools you want in a man-coverage corner. And for a while, it looked like the Bears had found their lockdown guy on the outside. But last season told a different story. According to Pro Football Focus, Stevenson allowed a 62.5% completion rate when targeted. He gave up over 450 yards in coverage and surrendered 4 touchdowns. Those numbers are not acceptable for a second-year corner who's supposed to be ascending, not regressing. And the most troubling part is that his tackling effort and angles in the run game were inconsistent at best. There were plays where he looked disengaged, plays where he took bad angles, and plays where it seemed like the moment got too big for him. Now, here's where it gets complicated. The Bears brought in Darius Slay during free agency, a veteran corner who's been to Pro Bowls and who knows how to play in a cover 2 system. Slay is 34 years old, so he's not a long-term answer, but he is an immediate upgrade in leadership and consistency. And the addition of Slay does something very specific to Stevenson's situation. It removes the pressure of him having to be the #1 corner right away, but it also removes the excuse. If Stevenson struggles again in 2025 with a veteran like Slay on the other side helping him, with Eberflus coaching him up, with another year of NFL experience under his belt, then the conversation shifts from potential to reality. And the reality might be that he's not the player the Bears thought they were getting. Here's what I think is happening behind the scenes. The Bears are not giving up on Stevenson, but they're also not betting the entire secondary on him figuring it out. They're building depth, they're adding competition, and they're creating an environment where only the best players see the field. That's championship football. That's what good organizations do. And if Stevenson responds to that pressure and turns into the player he was projected to be coming out of Miami, then the Bears' secondary suddenly becomes one of the most improved units in the entire league. But if he doesn't, Chicago has options now. That's the difference between 2024 and 2025. And that brings me to the third part of this story, the part that ties everything together, and the part that has me genuinely excited about what this defense can become this season. Matt Eberflus gets a lot of criticism, and some of it is fair. But here's what people are not talking about enough. The man knows how to coach a defense. In 2024, despite all the offensive struggles, despite the quarterback controversy, despite everything that went wrong for the Bears last year, this defense finished 10th in the NFL in points allowed per game at 21.3. That is not an accident. That is scheme, that is coaching, and that is players buying into a system. And now, heading into 2025, Eberflus has more talent on that side of the ball than he's had since he took the job in Chicago. Think about it. Montez Sweat is back for a full season. Tremaine Edmunds is healthy. Jaquan Brisker is entering his prime. Darius Slay brings veteran leadership to the secondary. And if the Bears add that enforcer safety through the draft like all the smoke suggests they will, this defense has legitimate top 5 potential. I'm not exaggerating. The pieces are there. The scheme is proven. The only question is execution. And here's the part that nobody is calculating yet. If this defense takes another leap forward in 2025, if they go from 10th in points allowed to top 5, the pressure on Caleb Williams and the offense actually decreases. When your defense is consistently giving you short fields, when they're creating turnovers, when they're getting off the field on 3rd down, the entire complexion of the game changes. You don't need to score 30 points every week to win. You can win games 20-13, 23-17, grinding out victories with ball control and defensive dominance. That's playoff football. That's how you win in January. The Bears are building something real on the defensive side of the ball, and it's happening quietly, while everyone else is obsessing over the offensive weapons and the offensive line. But defense wins championships. That's not a cliche, that's a fact. And if Ryan Poles uses these upcoming draft picks to add that final piece to the secondary, this defense is going to surprise a lot of people in 2025, so here's with a different mentality. And I'm watching to see if Matt Eberflus can take this defense from good to elite. Because if all 3 of those things happen, the Chicago Bears are going to be a problem in the NFC North this year. If this breakdown has you locked in like it has me, do me a favor and drop that like button right now. Let the algorithm know that Bear Nation is here and we're paying attention. And tell me in the comments, do you think the Bears should prioritize safety in this draft, or is cornerback the bigger need? I want to hear your take. Bear down.